What's up everyone, this is James Riddler, and today we are playing the Lurkers demo, which is a visual novel. So I haven't been done a visual novel for probably a month now, so I've come back to it since you guys have liked my previous ones. So make sure to like this video if you want more visual novels, and make sure to subscribe so you know when things come out. So let's jump right into it. London, this time of the year is the worst. There's rain one day and fog the next. I'd rather not set foot in Whitechapel, especially in the autumn, but I have no other option. As I venture past Commercial Road and Whitechapel High Street, there are less and less people around me. A misty rain has been shrouding the whole town since early morning, so right now my jacket is soaked and my hair bangs gracefully stuck to my forehead. I feel gross and annoyed in equal parts. I'm relieved when the pub I'm looking for appears in front of my eyes. The Frying Pan, one of the last places my mother was seen alive. Inside, the stench of beer mixes with sweat and dampness, but at least it's dry. I fluff out my hair in a vain attempt to get rid of the annoying humidity, and I don't need to turn to notice a number of eyes drilling into me. I approach the counter and ask for a pint, and the patron's curiosity seems to be satisfied after they have taken a good look at me. They go back to their idle conversation and ignoring me. I look around trying to remember the faces of the woman I'm looking for. My pulse races when I recognize one of them sitting in a small group at the counter a bit sideways. I drag my pint and my stool closer to them and smile openly at the woman. They and dress, and look like prostitutes, but I didn't expect anything less of them. Good morning, ladies. Does one of you happen to be Miss Emily Holland? The prostitutes smirk at being addressed as ladies, but it does the trick, and their expressions become more curious than upset at the intro. One of them, a woman in her 30s, and one of the few faces I remember from the funeral, grins and answers me. I might be, or mightn't. It depends on who's sending you. One of the women places her hand on my forearm and starts to rub the damp fabric. I'm not sure if she's trying to dry it or if she's testing the quality of the fabric. Either way, it's getting on my nerves. I politely move away and set my nicest smile again in place. Nobody sent me. I'm Eddy, Polly Nichols' eldest son. They share a baffled look, and I watch their faces turn into the same expression that I've been seeing the last few weeks on almost everybody. Pity. I straighten up before they start with the litany of poor boy that I already know my heart. I just want to know more about that night's events. The police don't want to show me their reports. The Met is being totally incompetent. Has it been 3 weeks already since the murder? I lick my lips and nod uneasy. The other two women start to talk at the same time. In the dark Annie the following week, what a dreadful death. Yeah, it could have been one of us. We are not safe on these streets anymore. As if we didn't have enough with those gangs who rape and rob us. I raise a hand trying to call their attention back to my mother's case. Agreed, but I need you to tell me everything you remember about that night. It's all in the papers now, child. I haven't been anything, I promise. but it still will be better to know everything from you firsthand. This frowns on me, of course. I gesture to the bartender to pour another round of beers for the women, and they giggle happily. Alright then, I don't know what you will win with this. As I told the police, I met your mother in the wee hours of the morning around 2:30 on the corner of Whitechapel Road and Osborne Street. Were there people on the street at those hours? Well, you know, Whitechapel Road never sleeps. There were laborers going to work and dock workers going back home. So she expected to earn enough money to pay for her bed and our lodgings that night. Just one more client, she said. Poor Polly. Yeah, she claimed she had the money 3 times that day, but she had ended up drinking it up. I clenched my fist and lowered my head at hearing those painful words. What else did she say? That's all. I was tired, so I cut the conversation short. I left and we never saw her alive again. Oh, but don't be so sad. Come on, boy, let me cheer you up at least for a short while. One of the women puts her hand on my knee and squeezes it. I rush to move away. It seems to amuse them because all three laugh at my surprised face. Oh, see, Mary gave you a fright? He's so young, don't be like that. I won't charge you. It's the least I can do for my friend's son. Right. I almost trip over my own feet in my haste to stand up and put some space between that disgusting woman and me. No, no need. Forgive me, ladies, but I should leave now. To my dismay, they giggle and one even reaches for my forearm. I shake her hand off, trying to be as kind and nonchalant as I can, but I doubt that I'm succeeding. Oh, look at the face. I bet he hasn't been with a woman before. Come on, you are embarrassing the poor lad. Either that or he doesn't like girls. They laugh again. I turn towards the door, but then I remember I still haven't paid for the drinks. Cursing, I take some coins out and place them on the counter, but they take the chance to circle me once more. Come on, you will like it when you taste these. And to my complete horror, when I turn to face them, a pair of boobs are looking back at me. The woman only flashing them to me before caressing herself, half dead with laughter. I freeze, unable to speak or, or move, horrified. A big hand lands on my shoulder with a loud thump. Alright, ma'ams, you've had enough fun for the day. The show has finished. The prostitutes boo at the man behind me. I turn slightly to see who my savior is. He's a tall man with broad shoulders and a nicely cut jacket. He dresses simply, but he still smells of regular meals and gentlemen's clubs. Literally, now that I notice it, he's even wearing cologne. Before I can ask him who he is, the guy waves the women goodbye and pushes me to a table at the entrance of the pub. Who? He interrupts me with a wide smile and a hand in front of my face. William J. Burns, at your service. I reluctantly shake his hand before he takes a visiting card out of his jacket from front pocket. From Burns Detective Agency, New York. I'm here on personal business, Mr. Nichols. I studied the card as if it was going to vanish any moment now. I blinked twice. I got to my feet and give the visiting card back to the owner. I don't know what this man is doing in London, but it's clear it doesn't have anything to do with me. Pleased to meet you, but he cuts my sentence again. I'm going to help you. Me? Yes, I'm going to be the man who puts the Whitechapel Murderer on the gallows. That's why I came to England in the first place. Noticing I'm Gaping, I close my mouth, sit down again. Did the Metropolitan Police hire you? Ah, no, not exactly, but they have accepted my help. I even have a written permit signed by Sir Charles Warren. Stare at him in awe. Sir Charles Warren is the Metropolitan Police Commissioner, the biggest fish in the Met. To think they got rid of me with a pat on my back while this guy gets a letter that opens every door in London, that's a bit unfair. Deciding not to look too impressed by the American, I cross my arms and keep a poker face. Then, why were you eavesdropping on those women and me? He laughs, and wears his hand playing it down. I was only curious whether they would tell the victim's son a different version than they told the police, but it wasn't the case. I nod, and more uneasily in my chair. This guy seems so confident, so happy to be in his own two shoes, I can't help but be jealous. So why did you say you want to help me? I want my mother's murderer to pay for his crime, but I'm not looking for anyone's pity. I know my words come across as harsh and unfriendly. Perhaps I should try to tone them down. His answers is a long silence. He lets his chin rest on his intertwined hands and watches me with a smile dancing on his lips. Who said I pity you? No, this has nothing to do with pity. In fact, I bear two reasons for helping you. I raise my eyebrows in disbelief. Two, oh, this is getting interesting. The main reasons you want to find your mother's murderer is because you feel guilty about the way your family and possibly you treated her. You think that perhaps if you had tried harder, you would have succeeded in making her give up drinking, or at least she wouldn't have turned to prostitution as a means of surviving on the streets. My cheeks feel hot, and I know I'm blushing fiercely right now, because everything he says is true. I loved my mother in a way just every kid loves their mother, but I also felt ashamed of her. My grandpa and I tried more than once. We were patient, tolerant, and forgiving of her flaws, but it was useless. Dang it, even my father tried until he was too fed up with her. I'm not in the best terms with him, but I meant he was patient with her for years, till it was too much. The drinking, the infidelity, the lies. In the end, she did exactly what she wanted to do, leaving all of us behind, her children, her husband, and her father. But instead of allowing me to turn my face ahead and ignore her existence forever as I had planned to do, she had to get murdered in such a horrible way. And now I will forever be the son of the dead. I clench my hands and glare at the detective. How do you know that? Have you been investigating me and my family? I only have your grandfather's testimony in court, but I have two eyes and I love to use them. You know, I like to observe and draw my own conclusions, and you have just confirmed my deduction about your motivations, see? I bite my lower lip, afraid of the retort that might slip through my lips if I don't do so. This guy's infuriating, but he has a permit from the police and I don't, so I should try to remain civil with him. You said you had two reasons for helping me. Is that the first one? Yes, it is. Curious about the second? He grins at me with the perfect teeth and his perfect conscience. Not really. I'll tell you all the same. Before, when those women were teasing you, they said you don't like girls and you didn't deny it. What? Is it true? Are you a sodomite? What a bad choice of words. I pull a face and almost spit my reply. I am. Something wrong with it? He looks completely shocked. That looks good on him, and it makes me feel a bit proud of myself. I made Mr. Rich American Detective shut up. That silence starts to linger a little too long for my nerves, though. Hey, you're not going to report me to the Met, are you? He doesn't come across as the kind of person I always had good eye at judging people, but anyway, better safe than sorry. I can still run out the door and vanish from London if he seems to be a snitch. No, of course not. I'm just amazed. I'm in a good way. You are really brave. Ha! Now you're taking the piss out of me. He lowers his voice to a whisper. I'm serious. It's the first time I've heard someone admit it. Nonchalant. I admire you. I lean back in my chair, not buying a single word. Well, I'm not prone to shout it from the rooftops either, so please forget about it, right? Can we go back to where you tell me about your findings and its investigation? Do you have any clue that Matt has overlooked? He watches me for a long moment, seemingly weighing his option before he finally rests his elbows on the table and leans forward. Well, yes, or at least I think so. If I tell you, will you work with me? I could use an assistant and you would get all the details of the investigation firsthand. I nod. It's way more than I'm going to achieve on my own. He lowers his voice more and checks that nobody is eavesdropping on us before talking. There's a guy at the Illustrated Police News that often arrives at the crime scenes before the police. A journalist? Well, it's the Illustrated that we are talking about. You can call it a newspaper if you want, but from what I've seen, it's just garbage. I nod in agreement. I know they publish all the public executions with accurate drawings of the faces of the criminals while dying on the gallows. It's rather sick. And the worst crimes with all kind of gory details, yes. Of course, they love the Whitechapel murder. It has made them sell double or triple. It's exactly the kind of crap their public adores. He's right again. Even being a foreigner, he has grasped in the moment the true nature of the regular Londoner. The more dreadful, the more chilling a crime is, the more we love it. This is the breeding ground of foul creatures such as the Whitechapel Murderer. It's what we deserve as a society. Kind of society that leaves their lost mothers to their own devices until they are found dead with their abdomens ripped open by a deep jagged knife wound. Going to investigate this journalist or whatever you want to call him. Either he will lead us directly to the murderer because there's a connection between them. He gives me a pointed look at this point, or he is the Whitechapel murderer himself. 10-minute handsome cab ride later, and we step in the office of the Illustrated Police News in the Stroad. I watch the amusement as the detective shoves his permit into the face of every clerk who approaches us. Power of official seals. In less than 2 minutes, we are led to Mr. Perkins' office and told to wait for the man himself. That was fast. What do you think of this place, Eddie? I don't even blink at noticing. I've quickly gone from being Mr. Nichols to Eddie, staying he's the boss, perhaps. I take a look at some of the cuttings decorating the walls of the office between some dark, indistinct paintings and not less vague diploma. It fits the image I had of the illustrated William. He squints at me with a chuckle and leans to study the black and white illustrations closer up. I remember this one. Very informative. Glance at the other headlines. All their similarity sensational. 6 nuns buried alive. More vivisection horrors. All of them illustrated with lewd and graphic pictures of blood splurting from the wounds, women's faces twisted in terror, and ceiling-clad young ladies. Very informative, as William had put it. Sound of the office door opening makes us turn. Good morning, gentlemen. Mr. Perkins. George Perkins is the flesh, in the flesh, Editor of the Illustrated Police News, the worst newspaper in England. Man laughs at his own joke, and William and I share a pointed look. Oh, you didn't know? The Pall Mall Gazette honored us with that title 2 years ago. Haha. I noticed you were studying some of our headlines and illustrations when I came in, shocked. More like revolted. His answer is a hearty laugh. Well, as I usually say, we can't all be the Times or the Telegraph, so we must put up with the police news. William smiles politely, but I can't help but press on with the topic. But don't you feel at least a bit guilty knowing you're basically glorifying crime? Oh, no, 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 my dear sir, the Illustrated doesn't glorify crime. Rather than that, I would say that my paper acts as an encouragement to a good life since it warns of the horrors and terrible consequences of crime. I know the illustrations are sensationalist, but apart from that, there's nothing questionable in my paper, and let's be honest, those illustrations are exactly what my public. I have half a dozen accomplished artists on my permanent staff in London, and somewhere between 70 and 100 freelance artists spread out across the country who provide the best portraits published by any journal. William clears his throat to get the attention of the policeman. Right. We are here to ask about one of the members of your staff, in fact. True. My secretary told me you come on behalf of Mr. Charles Warren, but you are American, right? What are your positions in the Met, if I may ask? We are external consultants. William takes out the permit one more time and lets the man examine it. Mr. Perkins takes a quick glance at it and gives it back to William. So it's true, the Met is hiring detectives to help with the Whitechapel murders. That isn't exactly true, but William smiles again and says nothing, letting Mr. Perkins believe what is more convenient for him. We like to talk with Chris Forrester. Mr. Perkins frowns thoughtfully. I should have guessed you'd want to talk with him since he's covered the Whitechapel crimes. Oh, I get to pick this? Um, is he here right now? I regret to say that he called out sick today. I can give you his address, of course, but let it not be said that I don't cooperate with the Met. The that would be great, thank you. Why, he lives in Whitechapel, so he's the closest man I have to those events. Besides, he writes, but he's also quite decent at drawing, so he can attend crime scenes on his own. Um, no, I already did that. Dang it. I'm good. Editor smiles slightly at us. Of course, my cooperative deserves some kind of small gratification. We are businessmen, right? Does he want money? The nerve of this man. I will share all the new information I get about the case in exchange for you doing the same. What do you think? Isn't that a win-win? William is quick at reacting. He offers the nasty journalist a charming smile and a handshake, and I bite my tongue once more before I say something. We were back at Whitechapel in less than half an hour. Of course, the journalist Forrester had to live in this neighborhood. I sigh and push my wet locks of hair out of my face. Climb down the hansom cab in plain Whitechapel High Street, and the detective quickly pushes me ahead after tipping the cable handsomely. There's no time to waste, Eddie. We need to check if that journalist is sick, at home, or just pretending. Well, if it's true that he's sick, he'll be at home, as if someone would choose to go outside in this weather if they could avoid it. He lives near here. Let's go. Take Brick Lane, which is still moderately populated with people coming and going, mind their own business. William stops in front of the door of a two-story building and knocks. Knock, knock, knock. A young man around my age opens the door. He, he's pale and his complexion is on the thin side, with a sickly air to him, so it must be true that he stayed at home today because of his health. Good afternoon, Mr. Forrester. We come on behalf of the police commissioner just for a couple of quick questions. Journalist stares at William without changing his expression, ignoring the official document that is shown to him. A bit uneasy, the detective keeps on talking. Your boss, Mr. Perkins, told us you're feeling unwell today. He gave us your address. Come on in then. I'll bring tea. William and I step into the sitting room of the journalist. It's a small, cramped space with a kitchenette attached through a wooden door. But it's the items that clutter the room that attract one's attention at once. The place looks half a dump and half a library with books, papers, and occultism-related paraphernalia piled up everywhere. A glance down the small hall that leads to the second floor reveals old volumes piled up on the floor, gathering dust. Young man is back with the teapot in 2 minutes. Sit down. Oh, you can put these books on the floor, no worries. We're sorry for disturbing you. Do you live on your own? He nods with the same serious, unfazed face and retrieves 3 cups from a cupboard. We sit in silence while he pours the tea. Say, Mr. Foster, you're here for the Whitechapel murders. William freezes with the cup halfway to his mouth. That's right. You covered those crimes with the Illustrated, right? In fact, you were one of the first people to arrive at the crime scenes? I live nearby, as you can see. I was coming back from work and heard the police constable whistle. You were going home at 3:30 in the morning. I went to take a look at the fires on the dock that night and wrote a short article for the paper. It's true there were 2 fires the night my mother died. Are you the son of Polly Nichols? Aye, you can spare me the condolences I've already heard too many these last few weeks. He nods. What about the second murder, 6 in the morning? Were you checking on another event? No, I couldn't sleep, so I got up early and went for a stroll. My intention was to have a light breakfast at the Frying Pan. But before they could open, you met the 3 police consultants who had just found Annie Chapman in Hanbury Road. A carman found the body and alerted them, yes. What a fortunate coincidence for you, a journalist being in the right place at just the right moment. Yes. Long silence stretches between us. Forrester mostly stares at Williams on the defense and sips his tea. I do the same. Suppose that in case you have an informant, you wouldn't tell us your source of information, am I right? You're right, although in this case there's no such informant. William nods and places his cup carefully on the side table. Then he grabs his hat and stands up. We won't bother you anymore, Mr. Foster. Thank you for your time. Eddie, let's go. I say goodbye to the journalist with a light bow of my head and putting my hand to my cap and follow the detective. We walk fast strides until we reach the corner in view of the Frying Pan. What was that? You were a churl with him? Is that your usual way of extracting information? He shrugs and stops in front of the pub, resting his back on the wall of the opposite building. He wasn't going to say anything to us. I just wanted to tease him. And his suspicious behavior confirmed my previous deductions. That guy is bidding something. What suspicious behavior? I'd act the same if a cop came to my house when I'm sick and started firing rude questions. You should be glad he even offered tea. But you saw his sitting room. Did it seem normal to you? There were books about spiritism, demonology, and divination everywhere. Well, everyone has the right to a hobby. Rather expensive hobby for a tabloid journalist. Some of the items he had at home are from ancient Egypt, and at least a couple of volumes are old manuscripts and parchment. I don't know how to answer that. William scratches his chin, thoughtful. I didn't know occultism was a trend here in England. In the USA, we have those charlatans, these Elizabeths led by Madame Blavatsky, all of them a fraud, but they are gathering a surprising number of followers. I shrugged. I don't know about that, but it sounds like something the rich would like. They have too much free time on their hands. I agree, but Mr. Forrester here doesn't look exactly well off. Nobody with a good salary would live in this neighborhood. I arched an eyebrow, amused. You, you'd be surprised. Anyway, what are we doing here? I'm freezing. We are waiting until Forrester thinks we are gone, and he ventures outside. Do you think he will go out with this humidity and being sick? Yeah, I'm certain. Oh, there he is. Quick, Eddie. Round the corner. As soon as we jump to our hiding spot, Chris appears in the street. He will surely go to the pub to grab a beer and a hot meal. Ugh. Uh, but no, he walks past the frying pan up the street. I knew it. Let's follow him, and we'll let our evidence about him being the Whitechapel murderer. What? Where do you think he's going? In my job, there's a saying that proves true 9 out of 10 times. Criminal always go back to the crime scene. Hurry, Eddie, or we'll lose him. We follow Chris Forrester as he turns the corner twice. Sunset leads to almost night by the time we arrive at the place I can recognize from the newspaper's photos and drawings. Can't believe William is right. The journalist stops in front of the entrance to the backyard where Annie Chapman, the second victim, met her demise. He just stands there hesitant. I bet he didn't expect the spot to be full of people. Because yes, even now at nighttime, the two murder scenes keep getting visitors, not the police anymore, but curious people who want to see the famous crime scenes themselves. Should surprise me, but it doesn't. It's been 2 weeks since Annie Chapman's murder, but that only means more people have had a chance to learn about it. I bet some of the onlookers came to London from neighboring towns just for this. Before the journalist can retreat the same way he came, William steps forward. You're coming with me. Detective grabs his forearms. Forrester tries to shake him off, but of course William's stronger than him. That much is obvious. Let go of me. Not until I get some answers out of you. Walk. William starts walking fast, dragging Forrester with him. I half tempted to act. He's being too harsh with this guy. But I also want answers, and Forrester is the only lead we have. Stop dragging him, William. He's not okay. Yes, sure. We all know that's an excuse. Spill it already. You are the one who murdered those women, right? Forrester presses his lips together and looks away. Why did you want to check out the crime scenes? Did you want to bask in the glory of how famous you've become? Journalist stayed stubbornly silent. Frustrated, William grabs his shoulder and shakes him, but the outcome is the same, not a single word. Don't you see, if we got you, it's over, so speak already. William groans and throws a punch to the guy's stomach. Journalist bends over in pain. I lunge forward to catch him before he falls down. I don't know. I'm the murderer or not, okay? His shoulders shake with uncontrolled sobs. I can't stand it anymore. I push William off him and glare at him. Told you, he's sick. Don't you dare hit him again. He's not the murderer, for you don't know that. He even said it. Not such a... He's not well. Shut up and help me get him back home before he collapses right here. Making a visible effort, William shuts his mouth and grabs the shaking guy under his arms. I take him by the other side, and the two of us help him walk back to his house. Drop the journalist on armchair as soon as we step in his sitting room. He still looks pale. I'll make tea. That will help shake off the cold of the street. William nods and sits in front of the Forster. He looks a bit guilty. I'm sure he has come to terms with the fact that this sickly guy can't be a murderer. When I come back with the tea, they are still sitting in silence. William staring at Forrester, and the journalist staring at the void. He's trembling. Walk closer to him and put a hand on his shoulder. He flinches at my touch. Mr. Forrester, Chris, please calm down. Aren't going to hurt you, I promise. He keeps staring at the air in front of him as it can't see to or hear me. I try again. Chris, are you okay? Do you need something? As soon as my hand gazes his shoulder again, he suddenly stands up, wobbling, hitting the coffee table with his knees. His teacup tumbles over, and the hot liquid spills, dropping onto the floor. William curses and picks up the teacup. I grab the journalist's forearm before he loses his balance and help him back to the armchair. He pushes my hand off and falls gracefully back onto the armchair, but at least he's finally looking back at me. Don't touch me. I raise my hands where he can see them. William and I share a look, and then he nods, encouraging me to keep on talking to Forrester. I won't touch you. We just want to help you, Chris. He makes a sound, half a chuckle and half a sob. His narrow shoulders are shaking out of control. You're shivering. Do you want us to light the fireplace? William stands up to do so without waiting for a reply, but Chris' eyes are glassy and his expression is empty again. He seems to be far away from this place. No one can help me. I don't deserve any help. Chris, please don't say those kinds of things. But it's the truth. I might be the one murdering those women. Your mother too. I don't know. How can you not know? You either did or you didn't. My thoughts exactly, but I didn't want to ask so harshly. Chris is very agitated right now. His limbs still tremble and there is a twitch in his hands. This guy is not okay. I I always see blood in my dreams. Since many years ago. William opens his mouth to retort, but he thinks better of it and keeps silent, encouraging the journalist to speak. I do the same. I wasn't aware until I started working at the Illustrated, but some of the bloody scenes in my dreams turn out to belong to actual crimes. It's a curse for my sins. What sins? I don't know, but that's what my priest said when I told him about my dreams. Oh, for sake, that's crap. Forrester, did you really believe that? The young man cast a quick glance at William, at last acknowledging his presence. I looked for other answers as well, other religions, ancient cultures. I guess that explains the state of his sitting room and his love for occultist items and books. Anyway, what does it have to do with the Whitechapel murder? Journalist licks his lips and shakes his head with sadness. A month ago, the dreams worsened. I started to see those horrible scenes when I was awake too, women screaming in agony, knives slashing through flesh and organs, blood splattering everywhere. My stomach churns on the image. Did he see my mother in her very last moments? Wait, are you telling me you hallucinate the murders? He's not buying a single word from Forrester, that's quite clear. Did I start before my mother's murder? Forrester nods. A bit, yes, a week or two before. When it happens, it's so real, I can't tell if I'm dreaming or not. I come back to my senses in strange places, and I can't recall how or when I walked there. Hold on. Not a Nichols murder, and with Annie Chapman too. Did you find yourself at the crime scenes after one of those hallucinations? Detective looks at me with a winning grin. Chris Forster, on the contrary, looks like a condemned person walking to the gallows. Yes, I know how it sounds. You think I did it, right? And I can't really deny it because I'm not sure. I went to bed, then had a dream or whatever it was, and I woke up in a dark alley with the police constable's whistles piercing my ears and a freshly mutilated corpse in front of me. He covers his face with his hands and his shoulders start to shake, rattling with uncontrolled sobs. I don't dare squeeze his forearms or pat his back, as I would do with another person under these circumstances, not after his previous reaction at my touch. William and I walked to the other side of the room to deliberate about our next actions. You heard it. This freak is our murderer. No, that's not what I heard. Chris is a sick person. He needs professional help, not a death sentence. Oh, come on. Do you really believe him? He was there the moment the crimes took place. He's sick and unstable, yes, but he's committed murder. I thought you wanted revenge. And I do, but not at the expense of an innocent life. Do you really think the guy would murder someone? I'm cold, in cold blood, and in such a brutal way. But he was there. I think he killed those women while in a trance. He seems to be a sleepwalker, so everything is possible. The fact that it isn't aware of it doesn't make him an innocent. Stanley refused to see his point. Let's keep an eye on him then until we have more evidence. I'll trust in this. And it's, he rolls his eyes, but finally shrugs, giving up. We'll hope what's here tonight. Will that make you feel more at ease? Yes, indeed. I won't take my eyes off of him until all of this is solved. And then I'll show you how I was right and you weren't. Is this a wager? What are the stakes? Really? I think I've already decided on what I want when I bear my victory, so you better decide on yours. What are you talking about? What is it? What are you betting? I'll tell you once I win. Now let's help force her into a sleeping position on the couch. Come on. Infuriating as always. William winks at me and moves to help the journalist to get ready for the night. I sigh and consider my options. I see none apart from following this American madman, so I go upstairs to grab some blankets and pillows. At least I've won more times for Chris Forza. You have reached the end of the demo. Really, that's kind of a bad place to end the demo. Full game will be available October 20. Thank you for playing. It's not bad. Um, I I like it, but they're doing like Jack the Ripper is what the story line is supposed to be on this. Um, but I will leave a link in the description of if you want to play the game for yourself. And thank you everyone for watching, and I will catch you in the next video.